Tonight, a judge rules that a court challenge against the government's controversial parental rights bill can proceed. Also, Prince Albert's getting a new hospital and aquatic center, but the price of one project has tripled, and that's causing concern. Plus, visitors from the north, why a group of Nunavut teens are training in Regina.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, February 16th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. Job action by Saskatchewan teachers continue today across the province, and teachers say the stalled contract talks could lead to an escalation after the February break. Jason Warwick has more.
If it's going to be every day, it's going to be tough for the parents for sure, and of course for the kids.
Annalisa Al-Shabani had to rearrange her work schedule to pick up her kids today at lunch.
Just here to pick up my kids because they're just, I think the supervision was canceled today. So I just don't want them to walk. It's a little bit cold and slippery outside.
In cities like Prince Albert and North Battleford, teachers walked off the job today after talks with government broke down. In cities like Saskatoon and elsewhere, teachers withdrew noon-hour supervision. That meant kids had to be picked up early. Al-Shabani says she hopes the government will give teachers what they want to improve their classes.
It's hard. I hope the teachers will be given what they're demanding, right? Because they deserve it. And they work hard for the kids because children are our future. So they deserve to have that additional demand that they need here.
Not everyone has a grandparent to help with childcare, but this grandma, who is also there for pickup, says she doesn't mind the changing schedules as long as teachers get a fair deal in the end.
My little granddaughter's so small yet, so it's probably not going to impact her as much, but it will. Some of the older kids, it will. So I guess I'm on either side, eh? Like, I don't really care. Like, it's something that they have to do, they have to do. It's whatever gets the job done, I guess, eh? So, yeah, like, hopefully it doesn't go on long because it does impact them eventually. So hopefully they can get this sorted out.
But it doesn't look like the end of this dispute is in sight. Friday, the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation put out a statement. It said, government has doubled down on misleading the public, distracting from the serious issues facing students, and refusing good faith negotiations. Their behavior is deeply disrespectful to students and families, the collective bargaining process, and the 13,500 teachers of this province. Government officials have put forward proposals on wages and tying raises to inflation, but the government is declining to negotiate class sizes and other working conditions. Teachers say there will be no deal without it. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A judge in Regina has ruled a court challenge against Saskatchewan's controversial school pronoun legislation can go ahead. In October, a new law came into effect requiring students under 16 to get parental consent if they want to change their name or their pronouns. Ashwarya Duda has more.
Justice Michael McGaw says the court can hear a challenge to Saskatchewan's Parents' Bill of Rights, despite Premier Scott Moe's use of the notwithstanding clause. It comes a month after lawyers for You Are Pride, an advocacy group at the University of Regina, urged the challenge to proceed. Their lawyers argued gender-diverse youth are entitled to a safe educational environment. The government says the law doesn't breach the charter and that it is in the best interest of gender-diverse children. The judge's decision allows You Are Pride and the government to share all their evidence and arguments before court. Then the judge decides next steps.
We're relieved that the court has agreed that we need to be able to continue to argue on behalf of gender diverse students in the province.
Jensen says the court has allowed them to argue that the legislation does violate the rights of gender diverse students to be free from cruel and unusual treatment. They will also continue to argue that the law violates the rights of young people to be free from discrimination. Bill 137 was introduced on October 10th and met with much public debate and protests. The bill passed October 20th after a week of intensive debate. Saskatchewan's Minister of Justice is disappointed with the latest development. In a lengthy statement, Minister Bronwyn Eyre says the government is reviewing the decision. Quote, "We remain committed to using all tools necessary to protect parental rights, including requesting a stay of this decision and an appeal all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada if necessary."
Our number one priority is less about making the government accountable, and it's more about just making sure school is safe for all young people in Saskatchewan. This decision also stands for the principle that a government can't escape review from the courts about the constitutionality of their actions.
The notwithstanding clause is rarely used. It allows governments to override certain charter rights for 5 years. Jensen expects they'll be back in court within 2 months. Ashwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Two big projects are in the works in Prince Albert, an aquatic centre and a hospital expansion. One with a price tag that's seemingly tripled, and another with an $18 million loan recently approved at council. As Dane Patterson reports, there's perks to both and tension.
The Victoria Hospital Expansion Project is the provincial government's largest single investment in Prince Albert, according to the Minister of Sask Builds. In 2020, the province committed more than $300 million to cover the estimated cost of the project. But recently, that cost tripled to nearly $900 million. They also said that original amount was only an estimate and specified the announcement had committed to more than $300 million.
That was a commitment based on an estimate at the time. Significant things have happened since then. We've had COVID, we've had major inflation and cost escalations, and so that was an estimate at a point in time based on information that was available and the current cost environment.
Nichols says all of that is being footed by the province and will be a part of the next budget unveiled this spring. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation says while inflation is a part of the rise, it wasn't 300%, and the government needs to be clearer with spending and closer in their estimates. In the end, the project will expand the emergency department, introduce new medical imaging, and a First Nations and Métis cultural space, as well as add 69 new beds, among other additions.
Well, it brings us a hospital that we don't have to go to Saskatoon. And for the north, the arena will be here.
But that's only one of the projects in the works in Prince Albert right now. The other is a $118 million Aquatics and Arenas Recreation Center.
We're the third largest city. We don't own our pool. We only have one indoor pool, and that's shared with Carleton, the school division, and its time is up. So that's why we're building a new one. And so we added 2 more lanes, so that's why we say it's a competition pool. So now we'll be able to have tournaments and events.
Council recently voted to add another loan onto the bill, $18 million, but not everyone is on board. It was a contentious discussion and 3 councillors voted against it, 6-3. One is worried about finding donors to commit to the facility and, in the end, cover that loan.
We are to make a decision about an $18 million debt based on a conversation at a council meeting. I didn't see anything in the report about the exact number or who's committed. I'm not comfortable making important decisions without having accurate information in front of me. The mayor simply shutting off my microphone hasn't convinced me that I'm wrong or make me more comfortable with this loan.
The city says the recreation center is past its halfway mark and set to be completed in 2024. The hospital expansion is set to begin in spring 2024 and expected to be done in 2028. Dane Patterson, CBC News, Prince Albert.
The Regina Humane Society says it's almost at capacity with dogs and puppies, and it's dropping its fees in the hope that more people will adopt a new furry friend. The fees are going down from $300 to just $25. The center has more than 40 dogs and puppies right now. The organization says it's unusual and likely due to economic challenges and housing issues in the community.
We have got a very high number of dogs, higher than usual, but they're not being adopted, and that's what's creating the problem. With us, we have animals come in, we have to have them going out as well.
To have a dog, it costs quite a bit actually. Like her food, their food is about like $100 every few weeks, like every 3 weeks. We get a big bag of dog food and it goes down in a couple weeks and we have to go get another one.
The Humane Society says it's also seen an increase in surrenders post-pandemic. The $25 adoption fee includes a spay surgery, vaccinations, and a vet exam. Saskatchewan has been playing host to several sports teams from Nunavut this week. They're preparing for the upcoming Arctic Winter Games. Darla Ponas caught up with the girls' basketball team.
I am the head coach of the female basketball team for the Arctic Winter Games.
So you're here in Regina, Saskatchewan, all the way from Nunavut. How was that experience getting here?
Nunavut is fly-in only, so we had girls that had to go to Ottawa, some went to Yellowknife, and I was in Winnipeg to connect to Regina.
Traveling here was very long, but it was worth it, and I'm having fun here.
So we have players from 3 different communities who came together to play together for the first time and train together for the first time. So they have all different experiences with basketball. Some have played in previous Arctic Winter Games, and some had their first 5-on-5 game. And they were really nervous, but by the end of the first quarter, everyone was saying, "Can I go back in? I don't feel nervous at all. I've been having a great time."
So how has the exhibition games been going for you so far?
Amazing, to be honest. We got along so well. Like, we're a good team together. I've learned a lot of skills-based tips, sort of like some more dribbling, some plays, but I've also learned a lot from the Regina team. Not just skills, we've learned about how to be good teammates, how to support each other, cheer when someone's on the court, you have to be engaged on the bench. We've learned a lot more than just skills on the court. We've learned how to be better teammates to one another.
Simone's job is to keep guys on the side.
We've had a wonderful experience. The university has opened its doors to us. The women's basketball program here especially, they've had players coming to our practices. In the evenings we do a team check-in, and the highlight has been the practice with the U of R female team.
So what's the next plan when you're finished training here?
Take this home and teach some of my friends and some of those little girls that I coach.
I'm very excited to head to Alaska with the girls. We've been preparing for this for almost months now, and I feel ready. I can feel confident in our team.
And you are 2-1-2
Oh, it's quiet in Wascana Park today, but it'll be busy there this weekend as the Wascana Winter Festival gets underway. The event, formerly known as Waskimo, runs through Monday. On Sunday, there will be sleigh rides in front of the legislature, snow cricket demonstrations, cross-country skiing, and more. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. We've all heard horror stories about lost luggage on plane trips. Usually, though, it's an entire bag that disappears. Travelers on a recent Sunwing flight had a different experience. Valuables taken out of the bags. Thomas Daggle has more.
And this was a great day.
Lisa and Dave Parsons returned from their son's wedding in Jamaica with plenty of good memories.
Amazing, amazing.
And one nasty surprise.
Locks were cut, luggage was open, luggage was a mess. Everybody was frantic.
About 40 family and friends made the trip from Toronto Pearson International Airport, spending the week soaking up the sun at this 5-star resort on Jamaica's north coast.
So many places to choose from.
All of it booked through Sunwing, a dream vacation to be sure, until several travelers got home to find their luggage cut or damaged, with thousands of dollars worth of electronics, watches, and perfumes missing.
It was very visual to everyone, the luggage at the resort, so we know that it wasn't tampered with it.
That could have only happened, they say, at the airport in Montego Bay. Using a locator app, the Parsons found their lost earphones still pinging from a neighborhood in that city. We asked the airport who hires the baggage handlers. They told us the airlines do.
Sunwing is who we paid our money to, so I feel they're the ones that need to step up to the plate.
Brian Williams was also on that trip.
I think the principle of them going through your stuff where you think it's safe, when you feel like they've basically violated you.
This travelers' rights advocate says Canadians are entitled to compensation in the event of such thefts, but just how often passengers are robbed is hard to tell.
One thing that CAA has actually been calling for years now is more publicly available data. What we'd really like to see is how many claims are going into the airlines.
After CBC News reached out to Sunwing, the company told the travelers the incident is being investigated by Jamaican police. The airport told us, as far as they know, thefts don't happen often. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
This weather update is brought to you by Titan Automotive, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
And our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. A windy Friday.
Yeah, you really had to hold on to your hat or your coat or whatever might have blown away out there today, because the gusts picking up at times near 60 kilometers an hour in southeastern portions of the province, especially. Those have died down a little bit, but we're starting to see them pick up in northern Saskatchewan now. Some gusts near 50 kilometers an hour in portions of the northwest. It's also where we're seeing some cloud cover moving in. This bank of cloud actually bringing some snow to northern Manitoba, but for us, it's mostly just moving cloud cover in, not really all that much snow expected here. South and central Saskatchewan, a clear, sunny day for us once again in many parts of the province. North, where the clouds are moving in, that's also where it is the warmest today. Temperatures getting above the freezing mark in portions of the Churchill region, where it should be closer to -10 this time of year. It was actually colder the further south you went in the province. Our cold spot just a few minutes ago still in East End at around -14, still reporting -11 in Coronach and -10 even in Regina. We had another night last night where temperatures dropped below -20. That has not happened very often this winter, but specifically in the month of February. In fact, the number on the right that you see here is the number of times that normally happens in the month of February. The number on the left is the number of times that it usually happens in a normal February that we drop below -20 at night. So as you can see, we're over halfway through the month now, and we are well below what our averages are in terms of that statistic. Going to continue to see that warm weather and likely few nights below -20 through a lot of the province, especially in south and central, as we continue to see sunshine, especially moving into tomorrow. Just a little bit of some lingering clouds in the north of the province. We see a little bit of cloud cover building in the early morning hours of Sunday, but that is out of here as we head into the afternoon. Some pockets of cloud cover here and there in the southern part of the province, but the north nicely clearing out. A little bit of cloud cover increasing as we head into Monday morning for the holiday Monday, but that should be clearing out as well through the day. But it is going to stay pretty gusty at times. Overnight, we could actually see some gusts near 60 in southeastern Saskatchewan. Maybe nearing 70. That's where they're expected to be just on the other side of the border in Manitoba. Tomorrow afternoon, again, gusts probably in the 50 to 60 range. These are primarily west and northwesterly winds, finally starting to die down as we head into Sunday and likely into the holiday Monday as well. Speaking of, the holiday forecast looking quite nice, except of course for those winds a little bit tomorrow in Regina. Temperatures near the freezing mark for us, dropping down a little bit, but staying above seasonal for the remainder of the weekend. And then into the beginning of next week, we see a little bit of cloud cover building in before things clear out as we head into Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, again, back near freezing with some gusty conditions. Saskatoon looking for a high around -3 with some sunshine tomorrow. And again, winds not quite as strong as we're seeing in Regina. And then temperatures dropping a little bit closer to seasonal or even a bit below that for the rest of the weekend before they bump up again with a chance of flurries as we head into Wednesday. So whatever groundhogs out there, Sam said an early spring is coming. Looks like they got it right.
I mean, credits to the rodents, right?
Yeah, but not too much credit.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Well, with the Family Day long weekend ahead also comes free fishing weekend in Saskatchewan. That means tomorrow until Monday, people can fish on provincial water without a license. The free fishing weekend does not apply to national parks, though, and with warmer temperatures ahead, do be careful out on the ice. We'll be back after the break. Russia's prison service says Alexei Navalny is dead. Navalny was President Vladimir Putin's most prominent critic. He was in a prison in northern Russia today when officials say he felt unwell and lost consciousness. Briar Stewart is in London, where Navalny supporters gathered today.
Reaction is continuing to pour in after the news of Alexei Navalny's death. We have seen some memorials in Russia, but certainly large crowds have gathered in front of Russian embassies across Europe. We're just across the street from the Russian embassy in London, and a few hundred people here have gathered, some with tears in their eyes. Now, there has been no confirmation of Navalny's death from supporters or his legal team, but Russia's prison service put out a statement this morning saying that the 47-year-old died suddenly after coming back from a walk. Now, he'd been imprisoned at a remote penal colony north of the Arctic Circle. And in fact, he was just in court yesterday, and while he looked thin, he seemed to be in good spirits. He was even joking with the judge at one point. Navalny has been in prison in Russia since 2021. He returned to the country after being in Germany getting medical treatment after being poisoned with a banned nerve agent. His wife, Yulia Navalny, was in Munich today. She was meeting with world leaders, and when she heard the news, she said she had to decide whether or not to go back home and be with her two children or whether to stay there. And she thought that what Navalny would have wanted her to do was to stay there and send a powerful message.
Но если это правда, я хочу, чтобы Путин, все его окружение, путинские друзья, его правительство знали, что они понесут за то, что они сделали с нашей страной, с моей семьей и с моим мужем ответственность.
Now, Russia's President Vladimir Putin hasn't commented on Navalny's death, even though he was out today touring a factory in Russia and speaking to the media. Putin will very likely be elected again next month in Russia. In fact, it's really a certainty because there aren't free or fair elections in Russia. And now you have the man who was the most prominent member of the opposition dead. And there are a lot of questions about just what happens to the opposition movement from here.
I mean, the opposition movement lives in the access to the real information. When people have an access to the real information, they're able to share their views, they're able to think normally.
There has been a lot of reaction from world leaders to Navalny's death, with some officials saying this is just another reminder of the lengths the Kremlin will go to crack down on any opposition. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
And Ethan is back with one last look at your long weekend weather.
Yeah, and the start of it going to be nice and warm compared to the last couple of mornings in Regina, -8 at 8 a.m. But keep in mind, those west winds pretty gusty, upwards of 60 kilometers an hour, or nearly that, even heading into the noon hour. Still going to be sunny and warm, though, in the Regina area, and the same for Saskatoon. Pretty much identical forecast here. The wind's not quite as strong for you, though, still out of the west near 40, and then by the afternoon, staying around there. Temperature around -4 under those nice sunny skies. Speaking of Saskatoon, we get this shot from Victor from the roof of Jim Pattison Children's Hospital, showing what appears to be a tear in the clouds between two banks of clouds overnight last night, and we can just rip all that cloud cover out of there, Sam, for our sunny day tomorrow.
I'm glad you explained that, because I was like, what am I looking at?
It's a little strange, yeah.
So interesting. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And that is it from us this week. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel or download the CBC News app. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great long weekend. See you Tuesday.